Original post, November 21, 2023. My wife and I have known each other for 10 years, and got married in 2018. We have very different lifestyles. She's a very devout Mormon and I am not religious. We found some way to make it work. It was a hard road, but there are some challenges still, but we love each other very much. She has never met my biological mother. My parents were divorced long before I met her, and I broke contact with my mom after I turned 18. My mom was extremely abusive towards me growing up. She physically abused me and my sister regularly and tried to frame it on my father. She was able to manipulate a doctor to give me multiple medications growing up and she'd steal the meds. Her boyfriend also tried to be abusive to me too. I cut my losses and cut all contact with my mother and her family. So did my sister. My dad and stepmom didn't approve of my wife at first because of her religion, but they get along now. When my wife asked me when she would meet my mom, I told her she never would. She's a violent and terrible woman and she has no place in my life, and I didn't want her involved in ours. I also told her not to contact anyone in my mom's family. Recently, my mom showed up at my work, which she had no knowledge of. It got ugly, and police had to be called to remove her from the property. It was such an embarrassment. When I got home, I told my wife, and she just had her, "Oh crap," look on her face. I asked what that was about. She confessed she reached out to my mom and told her where I worked because my mom wanted to make amends. My wife's beliefs are that everyone deserves forgiveness and doesn't believe something could be unforgivable. I told her that violated the one thing I told her was out of bounds and didn't even tell me until shit hit the fan. She of course has been apologetic. I told her we'd get there, but I needed to get through it. I've been sleeping in the office at home, and we've barely spoken since. We are supposed to travel to her parents for Thanksgiving, but I'm really considering staying home with the dogs so I can sort myself out. I'm not sure how to get over this. Edit, she's met my stepmom. She's also fully aware of what my mom did to us. Relevant comments. Comment 1, do you have or plan to have children? Is she going to use her stubborn beliefs to expose them to abusive people? You really need to think long and hard, don't sweep this under the rug. OP, we don't have any children. She really wants them, and we've only recently started trying to have one. Because of my experience, I'm genuinely afraid of being a dad. I wanted to make sure our marriage would last, and I wanted us to be older and enjoy time together first. That's also part of what's eating at me at this point. Comment 2. This post was just painful to read. I would stay home, and not travel with her. She totally disregarded your wishes and allowed your abuser to find you. True love means you protect a loved one and not set them up for a desire to be virtuous. It was never her right to do this. Best of luck to you and may you have at least a restful Thanksgiving. Comment 3, this would be akin to my husband bringing the person who molested me when I was a child back into my life. This would be an absolute deal breaker for me. My spouse is my safe space, and if they took that safety away there is nothing left. I am so sorry. Comment 4. You have a bigger problem here than just forgiving her. Without substantial change on her part, she is quite likely to do this again when you have children because children need a grandma and any other significant life event that she thinks your mother has a right to know about. It is also possible your wife has some warped idea of being the hero by having you and your mother reconcile. Your wife needs education on childhood traumas and respecting and supporting survivors. As well, you likely need couples counseling to guide the rebuilding of trust between you. Do you have a therapist who specializes in adult survivors of childhood abuse? You may want to start with individual therapy for you to help wrap your head around all the complex feelings you have about your wife's choice. Update, March 16, 2024. I appreciate the support of those who messaged me, as well as those curious about what happened. I didn't expect this to blow up. I'll give an update in chronological order. Get this out of the way. Mom was served with a restraining order. She can't go on my work property, and I suffered no issues at work because of what happened. Leading up to Thanksgiving, my wife and I sat down to talk. I said I wasn't going to go to her parents for the holiday and I think it would be best if we had some time apart. She was upset and scared because she has bad anxiety when she travels far alone. So, her sister agreed to travel with her. But in this conversation, I asked to see the messages between her and my mom. My mom had bothered her for months with messages on Facebook asking how I was doing, if I was alive, and saying she doesn't get to hear from her, so that part is what got my wife to reply with an update on everything. She mentioned what I did at my work and named the place. Which there's only one location in our city. I knew she had been reached out to, as me, my sister and her husband all had. But I didn't know she was constantly harassing my wife like that. Which, in the time between my mom showing up in this conversation, My mom sent several messages accusing her of setting her up, and keeping her son from her in those very pleasant messages. She went to her parents' place. I made burgers and hung out with the dogs on Thanksgiving. I went over to my dad's that Friday while everyone there was out doing Black Friday things. We hung up the Christmas lights and I told him what happened. Oddly, my dad didn't have much to say. He asked what I was going to do. I asked him for a specific file he had, and I told him I'd show her the file. My wife comes home after almost a week, and the day after, I sit her down and we have a conversation and I pull out the file. She clearly didn't intend what happened, but she asked if I was divorcing her. I said no, but she needed to have told me what happened and or blocked her. If she had insisted on messaging my mom, I should have been involved to make a more generic message. At this point, I opened the file, put it in front of her, and she went completely pale. In the file were the pictures of me the night my mom gave up custody. What happened was, we got into a fight over my grades in junior high. My mom started hitting me repeatedly, to the point where her nails had started to cut my face. At this point, I was big enough to stop her. I caught her wrist, and I twisted it enough to where she stopped and ran out of the house. The police were called because my mom said I broke her wrist. My dad picked me up, took the photos of my bruised and cut face, and my mom released custody to him. A few of these cuts left scars that are still visible on my cheek and sideburn area. After explaining what she was seeing, and she looked through what was in there, I told her she needed to understand she opened the door for my mom to have done this to me again. To my mom potentially doing that to her, and if we had any kids, they'd be at risk for the same abuse. Because my mom hasn't changed, her messages were the master manipulator going after my innocent wife. She said she didn't know it was this bad and she didn't mean that to have happened. I said we needed to go to therapy as a non-negotiable and she agreed. I caught some heat from her parents for showing her the file. Her parents had me promise them I'd protect her and not ruin her innocent view of the world, I guess is the way to word it. She had a very slow grasp of real-world things that weren't very present in the church upbringing. Although, they actually agreed she shouldn't have responded to my mom. Which was surprising. I did some solo therapy before we did our couples therapy. She was a little upset because I was distant during the holidays. Like I wasn't there. Apparently, I had some kind of repressed or undiagnosed PTSD, and I began dissociating again after that happened, and that was why I didn't seem like I was present. I feel like we are making progress. The therapist said my wife had this subconscious desire to fix things and make her perfect family, because of some issues her parents had and some issues on both sides of her family. So that was likely why she responded without checking with me. We have stopped trying for a baby for now. Which she's devastated about presently because one of my stepsisters announced she's pregnant and it really kind of hurt her cause she really wants to be a mom. We are spending time together again and sleeping in the same bed. She's tried really hard to make it up to me and she's been trying to read more about abuse and understand those things. Which is hard for her. We tried to get things back to normal throughout Christmas and New Year's. Presently we are doing our therapy every 2 weeks and I see my therapist the weeks in between. Thinking back, showing her the file with those pictures may have been a step too far. Our therapist said it was probably a lot for her to take in. But I said it in our session, and I said it the night of. She needed to completely understand what door she opened and what repercussions could have come from what she did and what could happen to our theoretical children if she opens that door again. I'm not sure if there was an alternative to showing her that file, but I think she understands what I really went through. Now, my wife will sometimes rub the scar lines on my face and just give me this strange look. She never questioned those scars before, and she just looks at them like that sometimes. That's where we are at. I think things are salvageable, as the way things came out before, it seemed like she sought out my mom. But I think she just got played and just attempted to give my mom some peace of mind but unintentionally made a problem that she didn't understand. Thank you again to those who reached out and offered support before. Relevant comments. Comment 1. Does anyone else think this is kind of fucked up? It's this exact innocent view of the world that led her to be taken advantage of. What if the mother got the idea to have OP's wife get them to meet face to face for a reunion? There's a difference between one's innocent view of the world being shattered by abuse and knowing enough about the world to not be naive and fall into traps like this. OP's stronger than I'd be in this situation. I wish him and his wife the best. OP. I understood where they were coming from. This was a promise from when we got married, and in a way, they felt me showing her graphic abuse was against that promise. Especially since abuse, rape, and other things in that nature are really quieted and not talked about much in her religion. My dad and stepmom were first responders. She had a hard time grasping the horrible things my parents would see. In my line of work, I also see the worst in people, and she has a hard time grasping people can be so awful. Not to be too far, but this spread to her at home. She didn't know sex was for anything but child making, and that she could have fun and it's okay to like it. It was a very broad statement. I knew what it applied to, but I think this could paint the picture of what they meant. I'm very grounded in reality, and she still sort of sees the world as sunshine, rainbows, and butterflies. Which isn't a bad thing. She sees the good in everyone. Just this was a moment she crossed the line and lacked good judgment. Comment 2. So, has she agreed to no contact with your mom and never pulling that again? OP. Yes. My mom is blocked, and she knows not to talk to her. Plus, she became the target after things didn't work out, so she now knows she needs to immediately block her, and she's verbally said it to me and in therapy. Story 2, Am I the asshole for letting my daughter shave her head? Original post, February 28, 2024. I 40 male have a daughter 15 female who's going through hair loss due to medical issues. My daughter's mother and I have been divorced for 10 years. We could never get along. My daughter is supposed to be going to the doctor next month. She will be going through a lot of tests to find out the cause of this. She is losing huge amounts, it's extremely noticeable. My daughter has been very devastated by this, and I am trying to be there for her. Hair is falling out of her head rapidly and in huge amounts. Yesterday my daughter came home from school, and she asked me if we could get her hair cut. She told me that she was tired of her hair falling off. I agreed to it, and I had my friend come over to cut her hair. My friend is a licensed cosmetologist and agreed to cut her hair. So, my friend shaved my daughter's hair yesterday, and my daughter's mother was pissed at me, to say the least. Her mother texted me this morning and said, "I can't believe you let her cut her hair. You know how mean kids at school can be." I responded back, "Were kids at school giving her any problems?" Her mother texted back, "No, but she could get bullied. Kids can be cruel, and you just let her go out like that." I responded, "If it bothers her that much, I'd be more than happy to buy wigs for her." She did it willingly. She was tired of stressing herself out every time hair fell out. Her mother responded, "You could have stopped her. We have Easter photos coming up next month. Family members will see those pictures." I responded, "It seems like you care more about the photos than your daughter's happiness. She looks beautiful regardless of whether she has hair or not. What if our daughter heard you say that stuff?" I ignored her after that text. Also, keep in mind, I'm buying wigs for my daughter just in case she wants them. I'm not saying that she needs them because she looks beautiful regardless. So, am I the asshole? Relevant comments. Comment 1. Not the asshole. Her mother doesn't care about what your daughter wants. If I was in your position I would do the same thing. OP. My ex-wife is a control freak. I'm glad we divorced because she was overbearing. She believes a girl should have long hair. She believes she needs to have hair to be beautiful. Sometimes dealing with my ex-wife is exhausting. Comment 2. Not the asshole. You're supporting your daughter emotionally and financially by allowing her to cut her hair to boost her confidence and offering to purchase her wigs if that's what she wants. It doesn't matter what her mother thinks, your daughter is her own individual and you're doing a wonderful job. OP. Thank you. I just want my daughter to feel confident and comfortable with her head. I just hope that she feels confident too. New post, February 28, 2024, 21 hours later. I 40 male have a 15-year-old daughter who recently shaved her head because of hair loss issues. This morning my daughter and I went wig shopping and clothes shopping for the Easter pictures. My daughter called me a couple of hours ago crying. I asked her what was wrong. She told me that her mother said she's not allowed in the Easter photos because she would ruin them. My daughter tried explaining to her mother that she could wear her wig. Her mother was saying hurtful mean things to her. Her mother told her she was too ugly to be in the pictures. I messaged her mother, and I was pissed. I said, "You really destroyed our daughter's self-esteem over something she cannot control. She is beautiful and wouldn't ruin the photos. I can't believe you said those horrible things to our daughter. You are a hateful woman and always have been. You are rude and disrespectful to everyone you meet. I am so glad that I divorced your sorry ass all those years ago. When she is an adult, she's not going to have anything to do with you and I can promise you that." Her mother responded demanding an apology and calling me a disrespectful piece of shit. My daughter came to my house about an hour ago. My daughter is currently staying here because she wants nothing to do with her mother. My daughter and I took a photo together. She wasn't wearing her wig. I asked her if it was okay to post it. She said that it was okay. I posted the photo of us with the caption, "My beautiful daughter. I love you so much. You're so beautiful, even if you can't see how beautiful you are, I see your beauty. Her mother texted me telling me to take the photo down. I told her to pound sand. I ignored her texts because I am not in a good place to talk to her. Am I the asshole for using foul language? I usually don't talk to women like that, but she really struck a nerve. Relevant comments. Comment 1. Of course, a child is going to be embarrassed to have something that makes her stand out differently from her peers, and that's no reflection of her or anyone else with alopecia or other hair loss conditions. But to pretend like a child, especially a girl, thinks it's no big deal to be bald is really, really naive, and borders on being ignorant. And makes it seem even more like this is totally fake, because a supportive parent would acknowledge that this is likely embarrassing for their daughter. And if being bald wasn't embarrassing/didn't bother her, why would she need a wig? OP. She didn't need a wig, and being bald does bother her sometimes. She likes wigs so she can switch it up. Considering her mother was insensitive to her, that factored in her asking for a wig. And she does feel embarrassed, but the way you worded it was strange. You called it an embarrassing issue. I don't consider her being bald an embarrassment to me. I mean OFC, she's embarrassed. Being bald is neither strange nor weird. It's okay to be bald. Comment 2. Not the asshole. Your ex-wife crossed the line with your daughter, and thank goodness your daughter has a wonderful father to stick up for her. Update, March 4, 2024. So, here's an update. I ended up apologizing to my ex-wife for the foul language used. My daughter is still at my house and refusing to go home to her mother's. Her mother called the police and reported our daughter as a runaway. An officer came to my door this morning claiming that my daughter was a runaway. I explained the situation to the officer. I explained that she came here of her own free will, and I brought up her age in the custody arrangement. I also explained that she told her mother via text where she was going and that her mother already knew that she was here. In fact, her mother told her that it was fine to come here. It was a whole mess. The officer ended up leaving and said there was nothing he can do. He said he can't force her to come back. My daughter slipped into a depressive episode. My daughter has bipolar disorder and experiences highs and lows. Due to stress and recent events, she slipped into a depression. I feel horrible for her. I talked to an attorney, and we have a family court date coming up. I am suing for sole custody. I'm collecting evidence that her mother is abusive. Since my daughter is 15, I think the judge should let her choose who she wants to live with. Yesterday I went to the store and got my daughter new clothes, shoes, makeup, and self-care items. I put them in a gift bag to surprise her. I'm giving the gift bag to her later on when she wakes up. Yesterday morning I made sure to tell her how beautiful she is. She starts therapy in 2 weeks. New post, March 8, 2024. My daughter recently shaved her head due to medical issues. She was losing hair rapidly and she's starting to lose her eyebrows too. We are going to the doctor soon to find out the cause of this. She has self-esteem issues due to being bald. I bought her a wig and she has hats to wear. I knew something was off. I squeezed it out of her. On Tuesday she was in class and working on her assignments. A boy that had been giving her issues all school year pulled her wig off in front of everyone. He called her ugly and said many other mean things to her. Other kids have been bullying her on social media. I am livid, and on Wednesday I was called to the school because of another incident happening. That same boy took her wig and threw it in the trash. I rushed to the school and the boy's parents were there. The boy's parents apologized, but the boy refused to apologize. The boy that pulled off her wig got suspended for bullying. That same boy and his friends have been harassing my daughter on social media. My daughter is extremely upset and has been in tears. I do not know how to get these kids to stop bullying her. I found out that my daughter has been self-harming. I am going to try and get her admitted to the hospital. I feel lost and like I'm failing as a parent. I have no idea how to get the boy and his friends to leave her alone. I need advice. Any suggestions on how to handle this would help greatly. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. File police charges against the boy for his theft and destruction of her wig. Make him pay. He's in high school and should know better. It doesn't matter if the parents feel bad. The kid needs legal consequences. OP. I'm wanting to press charges. He got stuff in her wig from throwing it in the trash. That wig cost me $600. I am just worried that the parents wouldn't be able to afford me pressing charges. My mother is telling me to press charges too. It was a beautiful blonde human hair wig that cost me $600 plus $40 for the glue, $50 for the hot comb. Update, March 11, 2024. I took the wig, my daughter, and the receipt to the police station and magistrate. I pressed charges for assault and destruction of property this morning. The boy's parents got my phone number and contacted me. They told me that they understand that the wig was expensive. They said he's only a 15-year-old, that he was a kid and they couldn't afford to pay $600 to replace a wig. I told them that he needed to face the consequences of his actions. Relevant comments. Comment 1. 15 isn't a kid. It's plenty old enough to side hustle and earn $600 to replace a wig that you're old enough to know not to rip off a girl's head. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Stand your ground. Especially against parents trying to act like a 15-year-old shouldn't be held responsible for acting like an ass. OP, well, I'm her father lol. We don't talk to her mother, but he definitely should be held responsible. Update 2, March 14, 2024. So many people said they couldn't see my update, so here it is. Yesterday the father of a boy who bullied my daughter called me. He got my phone number off of one of my social media pages. He called me and he said, "I'm sorry that my son destroyed your daughter's property. I didn't say or do anything because my wife would give me an earful. I will replace her wig. I assure you I'm putting my foot down and my son will not be an issue anymore. I will not enable my son's or wife's behavior anymore. He will most certainly be issuing an apology to your daughter if she's okay with it." I thanked him for his apology. He even offered to do some landscaping work at a discounted price for the trouble his son caused. At least the dad had a heart and is putting his foot down. Update 3, March 21, 2024. I had hair that went down to my waist. I shaved it off and kept the hair to make a wig out of it. I wanted to surprise my daughter when she got home. I shaved it completely bald. I even shaved my eyebrows too because she felt bad about not having any. I am giving the hair to my cosmologist friend who also makes wigs. Update 4, March 21, 2024, 8 hours later. My daughter is currently in the mental hospital. She's been bullied relentlessly and has been very depressed. I found a suicide note yesterday and I discussed it with her. I had her admitted into the psychiatric hospital. I am going to visit her tomorrow. Hopefully, she'll feel better when she sees my head and eyebrows. I shaved my head and eyebrows in hopes that she won't be singled out or isolated. She hasn't talked to her mother in a couple of weeks, and I will not allow her to see her mother at all. I hope that she feels a little bit better when I visit her tomorrow. Man, I really feel for OP's daughter. It sucks losing your hair at any age, but at 15 that has to be devastating. Also, OP, your daughter is lucky to have you. You're an amazing parent. Well, that's all for this video. Thanks for watching. Have an amazing day and I will see you in the next one.